Story 1. So, this is a story about my second big encounter with my crazy neighbor. Just some information. This happened on my 16th birthday, a few months after my I don't work here lady situation with the same neighbor. It was during July, a week before my 16th birthday. I wanted my birthday to be Black Panther themed. All my previous birthdays were Marvel heroes themed. I made my list of invitations. I invited some of my school friends, city friends, and relatives. Since I invited relatives, I was certain that there would be younger kids. So I asked my mom if she could find someone to dress up as Black Panther. She said okay. It wasn't easy finding someone, but luckily, my old friend's dad was okay with being Black Panther. Fast forward to my birthday. It was a nice and amazing birthday. My friends and family enjoyed the party, so I was happy. My friend's dad did a nice job as Black Panther and was happy that he was making children smile. Everything was perfect, though I wouldn't be writing this if it was. The time came for the piñata to be broken. Everyone was supposed to be given a turn to try to hit it. When it was my little cousin's turn, my parents, and I heard a mysterious yelling coming from the front yard. We were celebrating my birthday in the backyard, so we didn't hear the yelling the first time. We went to check what or where the sound was coming from, only to see Karen obviously mad about something. My dad asked her why she was here and why she was shouting. She responded with, "Why wasn't my daughter invited to the party?" "Well, you see, my son is not very comfortable being near you ever since that incident." "So? It was just a small accident. So why wasn't my daughter invited?" I told my dad it was okay because I knew she wouldn't leave until we allowed her and her daughter. I thought that things couldn't go wrong since she was happy that I allowed her and her daughter. That was until Karen saw that some of the people I invited were black. Karen threw a fit, screaming, "Why would you invite some racial slur to this party?" I told her that we didn't have a problem with any race, and that the party was a black superhero theme anyway. Karen then said I was a racist and started insulting me for making it Black Panther themed. "Mommy, please stop. Black people are nice people," her daughter told her. Karen got mad hearing her daughter say this. "Look what you've done. You corrupted my daughter, you jerks. You have no right to call my son that, you witch," my mom screamed at her. I wasn't shocked because I kind of expected this to happen the moment I let her into the party. "You need to treat all people how they should be treated, not treat them like dirt," Mom kept going. "Fine, you want me to treat them how they should be treated? Then I'll treat them that way." Karen then started walking toward my friend, who was too afraid to move as he didn't like being yelled at. Karen then picked up the piñata bat and proceeded to swing it right at his stomach. My friend fell on his knees from the pain and started coughing and crying. My parents quickly called an ambulance for my friend, and they said they'd be here in 15 minutes. Karen then started walking over to Black Panther, my friend's dad. "And this is what I think of your black superhero." She tried to hit my friend's dad with the bat, but luckily he was able to catch the bat and take it out of her hands. He then proceeded to tackle Karen and plant her face in the grass. Also, did I mention that he was a police officer? He then asked some of the adults to hold Karen while he went to his bag and got his radio and some handcuffs. I was actually surprised he brought his police stuff with him to the party, but didn't question it as it proved to be useful. He returned with handcuffs and his radio and proceeded to cuff Karen and tell her, "Ma'am, you are under arrest for disturbing the peace, attempting to harm a police officer, child endangerment, she wanted to hit the other black kids, and assaulting a minority son. You will stay here as I have already called for a car to take you away." My parents luckily had the number of Karen's daughter's dad, so they called him and informed him of the events that took place. He agreed to pick her up and started apologizing throughout the entire phone call until he arrived at our house. The ambulance arrived and took my friend to the hospital. Karen was once again brought to a nice, comfortable prison cell to stay in. And since this wasn't the first time Karen hurt a minor, she didn't spend a few weeks in prison but a few months instead. She was also given a fine for my friend's hospital fees, and her husband wasn't allowed to help pay the fine. So in the end, my birthday was ruined, and my friend got hurt. But at least Karen got to spend some more time in prison and pay a fine for the damage she caused my friend. Story 2. I like fresh ground pepper. My wife likes fresh ground pepper. My friends like fresh ground pepper. I particularly like it on my weekly Sunday breakfast, which, as it happens, takes place in the same local neighborhood diner as it has for 10 years. Alas, this diner deploys simple pepper shakers, inadequate for our tastes, so we bring along our own purse-sized mill. This diner, I should further point out, is generally patronized by regulars each Sunday morning, and we are on a smile and wave basis with most of them. As usual, this past Sunday, we were enjoying our breakfast, talking and laughing over silly jokes the usual. At the table to our immediate right was a couple of about mid-50s, same as us, but unfamiliar to us, not regulars, and the man had a loud voice. So loud, in fact, that he made our conversation a little difficult. During a lull in our conversation, I heard him say, "Pass the pepper." My friends then mentioned that they were going for a bike ride later and wondered if we'd like to join them. I thought it over, and just as I was about to answer, I heard a scraping of a chair from the next table. Suddenly, the man with the loud voice was looming over our table. I said, "Pass the pepper, darn it." He barked and reached across the table to grab my pepper mill. A cacophony of protest, surprise, queries, and exclamations followed. I managed to block his hand and looked up at him. "Hey, what are you doing?" I demanded. My friend, a very mild-mannered and gentle man, jumped to his feet and squared up. "Pass the pepper," the man snarled again. "What is so hard to understand?" I quickly slid the pepper mill off the table and into my pocket. Then I, too, stood up. "The pepper?" I asked. "You mean my pepper? That isn't the communal pepper." "What is wrong with you?" he shouted. "I want the pepper." At this point, his wife/girlfriend/companion, quicker on the uptake, realized his mistake and tried to get his attention. Roy, sit down, it's not Roy. Listen," she tried. But Roy, doubling down and in high dudgeon, was not to be denied. "Get that pepper out of your pocket and hand it over, now." Eyes were uncomfortably on us. Other tables were watching this play out in surprise and shock. At this point, a server approached with her arms full of someone else's breakfast. "Hey, guys, not sure what's going on, but I have hot food here. Coming through." As she passed, Roy shouted again, and this time threw his hands in the air in a what-the-heck gesture. It all happened in a blur, and before the server could avoid it, she was covered in sunny-side-up eggs, home fries, and sausage. "Roy!" the woman screamed. "What the heck? Hey! Watch out! Oh no!" and a dozen other exclamations from the onlookers erupted all at once. "No!" Roy shouted. "See what you did." His wife had scrambled to her feet to assist the server, who dropped the second plate as well. My wife also got up to help, and the owner, Donna, a sweet-faced 65-year-old, suddenly emerged from the kitchen. "What is going on?" she said, alarmed. Everyone started talking at once, and Roy, Alpha Roy, shouted over everyone. "This jerk indicating me wouldn't pass me the pepper," he roared. Donna gaped uncomprehendingly at him for a moment. She looked at the mess on the floor, the now red-faced and furious Roy, the other customers, and then at me. What? There's pepper on your table." "Roy," his wife screamed again. "Apologize now and sit down." "It's my pepper mill," I said again, "not the restaurant's." "Idiot," Roy shouted. "Why didn't you say something, jerk?" I laughed out loud and looked with amazed surprise at my friend. He stared straight at Roy and said in a quiet but firm voice, "Listen to your wife and sit down." Donna looked around at the mess in confusion. At this point, approximately 45 seconds had elapsed since Roy first lurched to his feet to steal my pepper. "I think I'm going to have to ask you to leave," she said to Roy. "I can't have this in my restaurant." Roy's wife, nearly in tears, began apologizing rapidly and repeatedly. Roy started protesting and demanding that he get to eat his breakfast. Donna, sweet-faced but tough, told him he could leave voluntarily, or she would have the police assist him. "Roy, now," his wife said. She left a wad of money on the table and grabbed his arm, pulling him to the door. "I am so sorry," she said to Donna and the server as she left. "I guess he loves his pepper too." Story 3. A few years ago, I was a shift manager at a craft store. Every season, our store gets limited edition seasonal items. Once they sell out, that's it. In this story, one of the items is a pair of hedgehog socks. 10 minutes before closing, one of my coworkers asked if I could speak to a customer because she was irate. No problem. So, I found her, and the second I saw her, I knew she was going to be a jerk. She was a total cheer mom, yes. There are plenty of lovely cheer moms and plenty of bad apples, and was standing with her arms crossed. while vigorously tapping her foot on the floor. I smiled, started to let her know I was the manager on duty, and asked what I could do to assist her. But she cut me off to complain about the employee who asked me to come over. She called my coworker an idiot and said she realized why they were working in a craft shop. I gently repeated myself, asking why she needed assistance. She went into a huge rant about how she called 2 other stores and had them print out the inventory numbers for a pair of hedgehog socks. She said that her cheerleading team was going to some sort of big competition and the hedgehog socks would be the piece de resistance for their uniforms. Yes, she literally said that hedgehog socks were the piece de resistance. She said that she knew we had 4 pairs somewhere in the store. I looked at her paper, got the item number, and looked for the 4 pairs. Now, the issue is that 4 is a really low unit number, and the likelihood that someone had moved them and not put them back, or that one was stolen, etc., was pretty high. I didn't find the socks, and I tried to explain to her that I couldn't find them, but I could do a full store search and call her in the morning. She didn't understand how this could happen, wanted me to search with her there and right now, and proceeded to cuss me out when I escorted her to the door because we were now closed. I reiterated that I would call her in the morning. As soon as the doors were locked, I gave my coworkers their closing duties, and I started power searching every nook and cranny for these darn hedgehog socks. I ended up finding 3, and I immediately had my coworker ring me up, and I bought them. I didn't stop there. I went to the computer and saw which stores in my country had remaining sock inventory. It was actually really limited, and I bought out the entire remaining stock of the hedgehog socks. With my discount, they were 75 cents a piece or something like that. She annoyed me so much by being rude to my coworkers and me that I bought out a company's entire nationwide inventory of a pair of socks. I called her the next morning, apologized because I couldn't find the socks. She was rude about it and said she was going to call other stores herself and look for them. When I told my boss she's much older and has been managing stores for a few decades what I had done, she stared at me for a good few seconds and proceeded to high-five me while laughing until she cried. Everyone received hedgehog socks as gifts that year. Story 4. There are 3 children in our family. I am the oldest, and I have a younger sister and a brother. My sister is one of those people who constantly begs for food. Every time my brother or I eat something, she asks us to share it, and it annoys me terribly. Why? Because when we eat together, she doesn't buy food, I mean. When Mom asks at the mall or in a cafe what she will have, she never orders anything. All because she wants to lose weight. But this does not prevent her from eating from our plates later. I try not to share with her, but Mom or Dad shame me for it every time, and my brother too. It's getting ridiculous. For example, we'll go to the cinema, and Mom will buy us all popcorn and cola. I tell my sister to get her own, but she replies, "Oh, I don't want any, I'm not that hungry," etc. And then the whole film, she'll eat my popcorn, my brother's popcorn, and my parents too. It just annoys me. But I found a way to teach her a lesson. My sister is fixated on cleanliness. She's just obsessed with it. One day, we all drove together and stopped at a drive-in cafe. Everyone put in their order, of course, except for her. While my sister went to the toilet and we were all waiting for her, I licked the salt off every one of my French fries. When she finally came back, with the smell of the food and all that, of course, she began to ask just to try. This time, with a sweet smile, I handed her my fries and told her that I didn't want them so she could eat them. Naturally, she did not refuse. Once she had eaten a decent amount, she said, "Strange fries, they're not salty at all." You should have seen her horrified face when I replied with a grin. Of course, that's because I licked off all the salt. She doesn't ask me for food anymore.